Teachers, what happened after a student had a crush on you? Nothing happened, simply because I made sure nothing happened. She was putting on some cutesy manic pixie dream girl act like Louis de Chanel whenever she was around me, and I would just not buy into it. Maybe she thought it would work because I was young and she was graduating? Regardless, she's either brave or dumb or both. This stuff is literally discussed at our staff meetings. It's good practice with all students, especially the ones with crushes, to never be in the room alone with them, to always leave a door open, and always inform another teacher if you do find yourself alone with a student. While still in school, she tried a few stunts that were awkward but not necessarily over the line. She tried to add me on Snapchat after she graduated. There is no way I would add a current or former student on Snapchat, lol. This is my old teacher's story, but I'll tell it for her. She told me that there was this kid she had that was kind of troublemaker but had a huge crush on her. So she made a deal with him that if he stayed out of trouble, he could hold her hand whenever the class had to walk in the halls. She's an elementary school teacher, so the classes walk together everywhere. She said the kid was really good after the deal. What? An elementary school age kid had a crush on his teacher? He wasn't young. She's only ever taught 5th grade, but I do have to admit that our teacher was pretty hot if you're into soccer moms. I wrote my teacher a love letter once as a pseudo joke. She laughed it off, and so did I, but I realized after the things I wrote were true. Down the road, I also realized she was actually one of the most amazing, beautiful, and intelligent women I would ever meet in my life. I hope she found the right kind of love that she wanted and deserved. Macron? I've been teaching high school for over 20 years. It doesn't happen as often as I did when I was in my 20s, but every so often a student will have a super obvious crush on me. I just ignore it and try to avoid being alone with said student. I did have a girl give me a love letter once. It was actually a really sweet letter. I gave it back to her and explained she was being inappropriate. I told her if she did anything like that again, I would have to go to the principal and get her parents involved. I technically should have done that, but wasn't sure how her parents would have reacted to her writing a love letter to a middle-aged woman. Just telling her no seemed safer. I also had a boy in my 3rd or 4th year into it who had a really obvious crush. I ran into him like 10 years later at the zoo while we were both there with our kids. He grew up to be really handsome. If we had been single at the time, I probably would have slipped him my number. I teach adults, and I had a 40-something married man from a Middle Eastern country decide that he wanted a little action on the side before he returned home. He was a mild-mannered, slightly out-of-lunch type, but I figured out before he left my class that he was trying to be a little too friendly. Absolutely nothing happened, except that he sent me some kind of funny, kind of cheesy emails, which I shared freely with my spouse. This man wanted to take me out for coffee and hold my hand, but I politely reminded him that it was not appropriate. Had I done it, I could have been fired. He sent me a couple more gushy emails, but it tapered off and then stopped. I am not a teacher, but I had a second advisory teacher. My school had a system where certain grades had a different advisory teacher on a specific day. I'm pretty sure mine was a Tuesday, and this teacher, we will call him Mr. Tie. He wore ties all the time, and I'm not creative enough to think of another name. Was an attractive younger teacher. Tall, buff, had nice hair, and the girls were all crushing on him. Except me and a select few, because we don't sexualize teachers, that's weird. And I remember one time some girls were passing a note he saw and decided to pick it up and read it out loud. It was something along the lines of, "Mr. Tai is so attractive, how do people pay attention in his class?" He just nervously laughed and said, "Haha, sorry, I'm taken," and threw the note away. The girls' faces turned bright red and the class was just silent during the whole thing. OP, which teacher do you have a crush on? A university TA here, and several of the guys I taught had crushes on me, would be flirty act, and I was very nice but also redirect every comment back to the schoolwork and didn't acknowledge what was happening. I think that happens to a lot of TAs though, because of situational hotness, you're hotter because you're a TA, lol. I had a big crush on my high school English teacher, Miss Robinson. I believe most guys my age there felt the same way. She and later her husband invited me to lunch and later to be part of the birth of their first child. Good memories. Definitely wanting to see these answers.